So again, when you're doing anything, who, not how, as the book says, who, not how. Yes, there is going to be a product involved. And your why is the most important thing. Why are you doing this? If you don't share that with me, I cannot help you. If you just come and say, I want a first lien HELOC, I want a whole life policy designed like this, I want you to introduce me to that lender. Okay, hold on, back up. I've got to understand what you're trying to accomplish and why, or else I really cannot guide you properly. It would be irresponsible for me to answer your question directly because your question is missing the point. We got to back up. It would be like someone asking me, hey, how do I activate this hand grenade? It's like, hold on. Why do you want to be activating a hand grenade? Let me understand what's going on here first. So the thing here, hey,
That's
I want you to introduce me to that lender. No, no. I've gotten better with that too. Just say no. Don't
yeah.
even give an explanation because you don't want to hear it. No.
You know what's so interesting about that? When you just said that,
Story
realize just
time.
an
Story time.
I don't know, like, no, it's just an irony in, and I know that this is just common, especially for us as insurance agents. There is a stereotype that every insurance agent is a product pusher. Some will even, if they refer to somebody who sells insurance, they'll say, "Ah, that insurance salesman,"
And with
just to,
contempt.
just to add contempt to it. And what's weird to me is that people have a contempt for a product pusher, but then they'll push the product on the agent.
Yep.
I can't understand it for the life of me. If
It's
you're
projection.
calling me, I'm
It is
like,
projection. It is projection.
if I came up with you and said, you need a life insurance policy, you would say, oh, this dude is just trying to make a sale. He's just trying to get a commission. But then you would come to me, I just want a life insurance policy. I don't need to hear nothing else. I'm gonna put this much money in there. Bro, it drives me up a wall. So when you said it, it just hit me something different because I'm like, we have to deal with this bias against insurance professionals, quite frankly, that all of us are first day insurance people who are from some MLM somewhere, and we're just trying to get all our families and friends and sell grandma a brand new IUL tomorrow. Like, this. And then it's like, then you book them because you saw some content and you can tell that the person who is providing the content is not a product pusher by how well they carry this conversation and how detailed they are. Well, you just want them for the product. I just don't get how this even happens. What is going on?
It's very unfortunate, but there is this totally unwarranted, pretty vicious prejudice against salespeople. I've never
Yes.
had this prejudice. I was never a sales guy, but I always had a lot of respect for them because I recognize they do things that I cannot
Yes.
do. I was in
Yes.
consulting. I wasn't necessarily the guy selling the project, but I had a lot of respect for those guys because I understand if they don't sell, there's nothing for me to deliver. I'd be out of a job. So I
Yes.
had a lot of respect for those guys. They do a job that's much harder than mine, where they have no control over the outcome, and they deserve to be compensated extremely well. A good salesman is not a product pusher, to your point. A good salesman adds tremendous value by truly understanding what you're trying to accomplish and help you to accomplish it. That's it. That is what a salesman does. That is why we take you through a consultative process. And in fact, and this is why I say it again, Brian Burns of the Brutally Honest Sales podcast, he says sales is counterintuitive. And this is one of the reasons why sales is really hard. Is the temptation is to say, hey, look how amazing this product is, D'Andre. But
Well,
that actually is not effective. What you actually
terrible.
want to do is the opposite and say, D'Andre, I don't think you're cool enough for this product. You're gonna have to prove to me that you're cool enough to buy this product because I'm over here at the cool kids table, and maybe we could
Man.
let you in, but I don't know. We'll see. I've gotten better at this. When someone like that comes in, I'm always gonna slow them down. If they're like, I want this, I always want to slow them down, back up. And if you're not willing to engage with me in that consultative process, then it's probably not the right fit. The wrong thing for me to do is to give you what you want. That's the wrong thing to do.
You well, absolutely. If you come in hot, my first words are gonna be, I don't even know if you're gonna get approved. Because telling you how great it is, continuing to build it. You've already seen the podcast of the capability of it. Continuing to build on top of that is irrelevant at this point because you booked a call. It was enough for you to book a call. But I'm not going to double down on it because you're dangerous at this point. If you're like, "Hey, just buy, just give me the product I want. You already give it to me. Just take it for this particular thing." I'm like, no, because if I do this, at least 4 months later, something bad is gonna happen, and then you're gonna be like, "I just realized I can't do this. I can't afford this. Why you didn't talk me out of this? Why is this? Why is that? Why is this? Why is that?" And I like to decrease the whys. So I'm wired to say no first.
Right.
I'm wired to say no first intentionally because I need to slow the process down. How long is it gonna take? Well, it depends on how long underwriting is. I don't know how healthy you are. I tell people for people who are really good, it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks for them to get approval. I don't know. But for those who I don't know what's going on with them, it might take you 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you're not the 1 week person.
you should not be in a rush to do this. We
It's
want to
your
make sure we
product.
do it right. Especially if you're talking about a whole life insurance policy, that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. So it makes sense to slow it down,
Right,
put some extra thought into it, and then make sure we do it right. It can
right.
be, I mean, I've
Absolutely.
I've 1035 exchanged people out of different universal life insurance policies and other things, and those are expensive mistakes.
Expensive. You ain't lying.
And
I
I had a
am
client over, I think, 10 years. He had paid $100,000 into a universal life policy. We got less than 30,000 out of it when we did the 1035 exchange. He lost over 70,000. And that's not a loss you can write off, by the way. That's not considered a capital
yeah.
loss
Yeah,
because it's life insurance premium. Don't rush into this. And it's not like there's not an insurance agent who's getting a commission. It doesn't matter who or how or where you do it. You're not doing it on your own. There's an agent somewhere who is getting a commission. Is
mhm.
that an agent who has really taken the time to understand you and what you're trying to accomplish? Or are you just rushing to get it in place? In my experience has been, again, now I'm better about slowing those people down. Those people will just ghost you. They'll say, "Oh yeah," they'll be all gung ho. We'll get the application up, and then they'll disappear. Right? We'll get it approved, and they'll disappear.
And then
Something's
just
wrong.
yeah,
Something's wrong with them.
yeah. Hey, ain't lying.
That's business that's not going to close anyway. Is the way I view it.
You have PTSD right now. I don't like it, Logan. You're hurt.
Getting back to the whole verbal thing, there's an inverse relationship between how much somebody talks about something. It's like
Right.
virtue signaling. People want to make an appearance of having a virtue. That's how you know they don't have that virtue. Because if they did, they wouldn't have to make an appearance of it. They would just have the virtue.
Well,
So let's say you start a charity and someone is talking up like, "Oh, D'Andre, this charity is amazing. It's so great how you're helping all those kids in Africa, and it's just amazing." Blah blah blah. You keep hearing this, and you say, "Oh, that's wonderful how much you like my charity. Would you like to make a donation to my charity?" And then see that person turn and be like, "How dare
well,
you ask me to give you money? What are you trying to do? You think you're just going to extract money out of me? Like, how dare you?"
that's what they that's what they do.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the verbal tip. The more people talk about something, the less you know they're actually doing it. It's just like armchair quarterbacking. They'll talk all day long about quarterbacking and critique all these quarterbacks who they've never thrown a football themselves. The guys who are actually quarterbacks, the last thing they want to do is sit around and talk about football. That's boring. They want to actually go and do it. They don't want to sit there and talk about it. So
That's a fault.
like you can watch the video. It's just a good example of why it's worth spending some time to make sure you get it right. And again, I still don't understand why people would try and circumvent an expert who's there to help you to actually do this right, especially something as important as this. I don't understand why you do that.
And here's the thing, because I know I charge a consult fee. So I'm very upfront about that. My consult fee is less than your mistake.
Oh, way less. Way less. Yeah.
It's less than your mistake. There's no way around that. So
And by the way,
you,
we are losing money on that consultation fee. It is not compensating me for the amount of time that I put into it because I do it right. So I would probably have to charge at least $2,500 to compensate me for the time that I put into a case.
that's just putting it the
And
fee.
and those cases may or may not close. You'll get some good advice. You'll get some stuff in place. I may or may not be compensated on it at the end of the day. The consultation fee is not for us to make money. It is to attract the right prospects, to filter out bad ones. And yeah, I suppose there is some, at least I made something if it turns out it's not the right fit, but that's not really what it's there for.
Yeah. I don't charge it hoping that all I get is a consult fee.
Yeah, we'd be out of
Let's make
business. We'd be out of business
there
if that.
rather I rather
So
go to reason.
I learned this from Van Miller. You don't say, "Hey, I'll talk to you for free." You say, "No, no, no. The first meeting is at my expense." There is a cost. My time is extremely valuable.
It's
There is
my
absolutely
expense,
a
yeah.
cost. So it is not free, but I'm going to bear the expense for you as a favor to you. And we'll see where we
That's a
go
good
from there.
that's a good way
First
to say
meeting
it.
is at my expense.
Thanks,
And
man.
let's be honest. I've learned over time, yes, I can point the finger at people who do these things, but at the end of the day, I'm sort of responsible too. I need to do a better job of showing the value, of saying no, charging up front, all these things that we can do to filter those people out, make them understand, no, this is not a commodity. This is a strategic process. I'm adding a tremendous amount of value. And if you don't recognize the value, then it's probably the wrong fit. And if you want to just find an order taker to buy a commodity, you can probably find one online, but that's not what I do. This is a
Yeah.
lifelong relationship. Think about it. It's a lifelong relationship. And I am probably going to be showing up at the worst possible moment in the life of one of your loved ones when daddy died prematurely and left his wife and 4 children. And I'm going to be showing up at that moment with a $5 million death benefit check. Yeah. What quality of relationship do you want with that person who's showing up to your grieving widow to give her something that's going to save her family financially? Do you want to just have a very superficial transactional relationship with that person? Do you want it to be a 1-800 number? Because an agent you never spoken to? This is why people give me the business when I look at their disability policies, etc. I'll tell them, hey, you can go exercise that guaranteed purchase option, and there's an awkward silence because usually they're like, yeah, I don't want to talk to that agent. I never really spoke to him. I don't know him. He's going to give me an aggressive sales pitch. I don't want to talk to him. And so what they'll do is they see the value and they'll say, yes, I know it'll be less expensive and easier for me to exercise that guaranteed purchase option. But not only would I rather not exercise that guaranteed purchase option, I would rather replace the policy I currently have, even though I know it'll be more expensive because I want that business to be with you because I trust you. You're solving my problems. I know you're going to be there to answer my questions. And I would rather give the business to you because they understand the most important question is who, not what we're doing. Who
Yep.
are you doing it with? Once you build that trust, they're going to give you everything because they know you're going to be there. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get someone who will. I'm a problem solver, not a bureaucrat. I'm not an order taker. I am a problem solver. So,
And that
and you
there
can actually get hold of me.
for any advisors listening to this conversation, that little piece that Logan just mentioned, that will get you so much business is scary. If you turn a client to go back to the person they bought the product from instead of being the hunter with their teeth out to try to get the business right away, that client is yours. Is yours. They trust you because they can't believe that you would be that honest that, hey, this might be the easier path. Granted, it's probably still going to end up in you writing a new policy, which is good for you. But the ultimate thing is the way that you got there was you gained trust in a client. So always remember that part that Logan just mentioned. Maybe don't do it so that me and Logan can continue getting a lot of. But it's a thing. It does work to actually say, well, this looks this way. You might want to tweak it this way and go back to who originally wrote it. It works because it builds that human character that people so rarely see. And it does better for the industry overall. Each of us is one agent at a time having good behavior practices, ethics that would better the way that an entire industry is seen. Because we're held under a microscope, quite frankly. Us who talk about infinite banking or us who talk about velocity banking, the microscope is on us so heavy. And those who talk about investments, there's no microscope. That's the reason why they talk about infinite banking now and diss it all the time, or try to have every single conversation start with how crazy infinite banking is, because they realize they don't have the attention that the consumer wants anymore. So if you got that attention, just do the right thing so that you continue to build a good reputation overall for every agent. Now, granted, if you have a bad practice, that only helps me. But I,
Yeah, well, I talked about my cash flow optimization exercise, and I've given several examples of people that I saved thousands of dollars, improved their lives immeasurably on products that I don't sell. Home and auto insurance saved a guy thousands. I referred him to a good PNC agent, or I sent him to Costco, saved 50% on his home and auto insurance premium. I
Mhm.
didn't make any money off of that. Refinance your mortgage into a first lien HELOC. I'm not a loan officer. Legally, I cannot be compensated on that loan. I didn't make any money off of the first lien HELOC, but he's going to save tens of thousands in interest. There are moves like that that we can make, and that's all before we even get to the ultimate solution. So at the very least, those people are probably going to be maybe a source of referrals, or they're going to be looking for an opportunity to do business with you in the future
Wonder.
if now is not the right time. Where I also gain a lot of credibility with people is when I talk them down from whole life insurance a little bit and talk them into convertible term, because they recognize that unlike the fiduciaries, I'm genuinely acting in their best interests. I'm saying, look, the right thing to do is to secure that death benefit first. And now we've locked in your ability to do whole life at some point in the future. But I've gotten more conservative about how much money do you have, liquid and accessible, and how much of that should be going into premium. Because yes, we want to become our own bankers, but it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be some unexpected negative event that's going to happen to you. And when that happens, I want to make sure it doesn't jeopardize the premiums going into the whole life insurance policy. Unlike the investment advisors, I don't look at it under the perfect world scenario. Today, I know you have that much cash flow. What if you lose your job? What
If
if you're
you
out of a
lose your
job for
job,
6 months? What if one of your kids starts having serious health issues? Right? Things like that they will happen. They will happen. At some point over the next 10 years, some unexpected negative event will happen that will have some financial consequences. Maybe, DeAndre, this would be the subject of another conversation, a much more emotional conversation, but I think perhaps eye opening about the experience of delivering a death benefit check. I
ah,
would like to hear your stories about those experiences and what you learn from delivering death
one,
benefit checks.
I've had 8 of them. It's an interesting experience for sure.
That's where it
Uh,
gets real. That's where it
yeah,
gets real.
that's when the industry becomes real to you. I don't even want to say I was an insurance agent beforehand. I don't even feel like I really opened up into understanding the degree of responsibility that was in my hands until after that happens. It's like, oh, wow. Okay.
It makes you a lot more bold about telling the client, look, I know you
Yep.
think you only need 1,000,000. I'm telling you, 5,000,000 is your total human life value.
If it really
And
is
I can say this because it's not a sales pitch like DeAndre. I cannot ethically or morally recommend that you be anything less than fully insured. I cannot. I cannot make that recommendation. It'd be immoral for me to do so. We're just
Yep.
talking about term here. We're not talking about whole life. So affordability shouldn't be
Yep.
an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. And I think people respond pretty well to that. That's
Yeah.
not a high
Yeah.
pressure
It's
sales pitch.
oh,
That's just you
right.
being financially responsible and me being morally responsible. And so what
Yeah.
some agents will do, and I really don't do this because I usually clients will, once they talk with me, will take the full human life value usually, is to ask them, DeAndre, for compliance purposes, for my own legal liability purposes, I need you to sign this paperwork saying that, yes, Logan explained to me that my full human life value is 5 million, but I'm declining that. I'm just taking 2 million. So then when I have to deliver a $2 million check to your widow and 4 children, she cannot sue me successfully for financial malpractice because I didn't get you
Mhm.
properly insured. You
Yeah.
fully insure your
And
house, you fully insure your car, you would never imagine doing anything differently. Why wouldn't you fully insure your life? What's more important to your
that's
family?
right. That's right.
So, all right. So
That's right.
next time we'll get some of DeAndre's. We'll do story time. We'll do a few story time episodes. I'd like to hear DeAndre's experience of delivering a death benefit check because this is not pretentious. What we do is we protect widows and orphans. That is
Yeah.
what we do. We take care of widows and orphans. That's what we do. A retirement account
Right.
will not take care of widows and orphans. No,
And
it's
we'll
not life
even mix
insurance.
in.
It's not life insurance.
Here's the one thing we'll mix in. The story, it goes both ways. When you go to a client that is on your book in another way, like I have Medicare clients, and then they had their spouse die or something like that, and they thought they had life insurance. That is the most emotional. That is the hardest one to deal with, to go through a person's belongings and to try to locate a policy and to see if it's lapsed or not is a very uncomfortable thing. There's stories related to that as well that I think people may never even think that we have to go through. And y- you think it's all about selling the product until you're dealing with somebody who you weren't even there to sell the product in the first place. They're your Medicare client. They had a policy from somebody else and they were never interested in having that conversation with you. And then you realize they didn't really have a policy.
Just like people who thought they had whole life and you explain to them, no, this is variable universal life. No, this is something different, and same thing. And there's not any death benefit and there's not any cash value and the policy's going to lapse.
First of all, that's egregious. Right? I
Deer in
mean,
the
you know,
headlights. They just have the deer in the headlights look.
to make it seem like a VUL is a whole life, that is straight egregious.
And to be fair, I wasn't in the room. So the financial advisor who sold him that, he may have done everything correctly and the client just heard what they want to hear, or the client's just giving orders to the guy or whatever. I don't know. The
Yeah.
client thought he had whole life, but that sort of person probably isn't really going to listen. So I'll give the financial advisor credit. I don't know the financial advisor. So that's
And
why, while I'll
I
criticize them in
get it.
general, in
I
any
get it.
specifics, yeah,
No, I'm not giving. I've seen too much egregious.
right,
I
right,
think people say margin loans. I'm infinite banking because
right,
I have
right.
margin loans. I see that type of rhetoric all the time in
Yep,
order to try to demean infinite banking. I am
yep,
not giving them no leeway. On top of that, just so that people know this, if you get a VUL from a person, chances are this person is not an insurance only advisor, which means that they probably are a financial advisor selling you a securities product that is invested into the market. So when you think infinite banking, the whole concept, just read the book, it is anti market. So if you hear variable universal life, just get away from your bias of trying to get the most return
right,
and think, well, that's not what I read. So it's good
right,
to read first too. Like You
Yeah,
know,
if
that
you're
I
trying to
mean,
f if you're trying to finance something, and you're
yeah,
thinking of a
like
financing strategy, where does return on investment come into it, right?
what on
Yeah,
it?
it's okay to invest. When you say it's anti-market, I know what you mean. It's not actually anti-market. It's just saying this is a
You
different we're not dealing with investments. We're dealing with how are you financing your purchases. So if you want to invest in the market, that's totally fine. But that's a separate conversation. You got to back up a step. Who's
well,
controlling the
it's
banking function in your life?
so I could say this very clearly because you can actually read it in one of the chapters. It's anti-universal.
Right. Universal life. Yeah. No,
It is
Nelson
not
did
just
say, right. Nelson Nash did say you cannot do infinite banking with universal life. Even David McKnight, who is a big proponent of indexed universal life, has said it doesn't really work for infinite banking because it doesn't have the guarantees in whole life insurance. So now, if someone says, oh, I can just borrow against my house or I can just borrow against an investment account, I
it's not the same.
actually I actually like it because it shows they're seeing a broader concept. So I'll say, yeah,
Right.
there's an analogy there. You're right. It's the buy, borrow, die strategy. You're putting your money into an appreciating asset. And then rather than selling
I'm
the asset to realize the gains, you're
right.
just borrowing against it strategically. There's an analogy there for sure. But that does not enable you to become your own banker because who has control now? If you borrow against your house, the bank is setting the terms. If you borrow against your investment account, that's a high risk endeavor. The bank is
Very
setting the
high
terms, and those terms, if you read the fine print, are very, very
risk.
harsh. And under normal times, it might be fine, but if anything goes even the slightest bit wrong in the market, they will just liquidate you. They won't ask questions. They'll just take your money.
And you're more
Um,
expensive. The
yeah,
ULs are
yeah.
more expensive. Well, not to say that it's a bad product, because I don't believe that
No,
anything
it's
in
fine.
particular is bad.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you up to the infinite banker, I want to use this strategy. That's not what it is. And Logan, your client, change your financial advisor. He's misrepresenting things. I'm just gonna say it. Hey, Logan's not
Yeah.
gonna say it. I'm gonna say it for him.
Well, it's getting back to what we said earlier. The reason why he ended up in a VUL is because he put no thought into who his partner is, and he just got someone who's going to tell him what he wants to hear and give him a product. He has no
Right.
relationship at all with that financial advisor. So when you say it's his financial advisor, it's not really. It's just the guy who took the order. That's it. The guy took the order and got a commission. There's no relationship whatsoever. You might as well have
Right.
found a robot and just said, "Here's what I want. Go do it."
Yep. He didn't advise, and he saw an easy way to get commission.
And of course, following on your point, people who are securities licensed, there's almost a conflict of interest there where they want to push you into securities based products. They want to push you away from whole life insurance into anything that's securities backed. So if he cannot talk you out of life insurance, he'll at least talk you into a VUL and say that's the best form of life insurance
What
because
they're
they're securities licensed and because their broker usually, in many ways,
right.
forces them into it. Many of these broker dealers basically, if not force, they at least pressure their financial advisors into doing things like this, staying away from whole life insurance and going into variable products, whether they be variable annuities. So if you want to get an annuity, they'll say, oh, you need a variable annuity. If you want to get life insurance, it's variable universal life. Anything to inject that market risk back into it, get it back in the Wall Street
The market
casino,
ripple.
and therefore make more money. Right.
And line. Activate.
Yeah. Well, it is a little bit aggravating, but at the same time, I don't really even view them as competition. They're such a joke in that their
Yeah.
understanding is so superficial, it's not even worth discussing with anyone who is honestly looking for the truth is probably not going to be misled by that because no fundamental questions will ever be answered. It'll just be a
Yeah.
superficial conversation. If you want more than a surface level conversation, you're going to find out they have a framework is just giving you a catalog of their product, the products that they sell,
Mhm.
right? But
Very
I think next time, DeAndre, maybe we'll go through some stories about your experience that you mentioned, either both delivering death benefit checks and having to explain to people that actually you don't have life insurance or you don't have what you thought you had. That
Mhm.
happens a lot.
Mhm.
That's why I said in my consultation, one of the things I do that if people don't appreciate until they get into it, it is so valuable just to help people understand what they currently have.
What you're learning.
You have life insurance? Send me the policies. You have disability, even if it's through your employer, send it to me. We'll review it.
Let me see.
We'll help you understand the limitations. And once you understand what you have, then the next step becomes a lot easier and more natural. It can be obvious to see, oh, there's a gap here, or we can optimize this. So we'll talk about that next time. I'm very interested to hear Mr. Clayton's stories
Right.
around delivering death benefit checks. But DeAndre, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure speaking with you. We look forward to the
Thank
next one.
you, my, thank you, my friend.